The sun rises over the Salisbury Plain, and as the first light of day penetrates the morning mist, it throws one of the world's greatest enigmas into silhouette. There it stands firm and massive against the backdrop of the English landscape, Stonehenge, a portal to the unknown emerging from the shadows. For nearly 5 millennia, this ancient stone circle has held secrets, challenging archaeologists, astronomers, and fantasists in turn to unravel the mystery of its function. A sophisticated calculator of astronomy, precisely oriented to track the path of stars and planets. Or something darker, a sinister temple in which our ancestors offered up sacrifices to powers outside their understanding. We return today through the mist of the centuries to pay a visit to one of the most fascinating controversies of archaeology, where science and religion collide, and where every stone carries a tale of millennia. Our story begins around 3100 BCE, when the white rolling downs of Wiltshire were to be the backdrop for man's very first great building project on this sacred land. Even before the monstrous trilithines that define Stonehenge today, Neolithic farmers inscribed a rudimentary circular earthwork on the landscape, a henge, delineated by a 110-meter-wide ditch and bank. Archaeological history indicates that these initial developers possessed a high level of familiarity with their environment, choosing this location for reasons still mysterious to scholars. The monument is situated where ancient roads cross, surrounded by burial mounds and other ritual monuments, suggesting that this was a place of deep spiritual energy even at this time. These initial settlers left the cremated remains of over 150 individuals, the ashes scattered around the monument in a manner that bears testament to ritual activity we can hardly comprehend. The reality that thousands of tons of earth had to be removed with no more than wooden spades and antler picks shows a level of communal organization and communal intent beyond our capacity to conceive, related to prehistoric society. A preternatural display of human determination and engineering was underway sometime around 2600 BCE. 82 bluestones, weighing 2 to 4 tons each, were dragged from the Preseli Hills in Wales, 150 miles away, by early humans along rivers, valleys, and rough country to Salisbury Plain. This massive undertaking is history's biggest exhibition of prehistoric logistics and dedication. Recent archaeological digs offer some possible channels. Maybe the stones were rolled along wooden rollers across country, or rafted up coastlines and into river systems. The sheer scale of this endeavor bears testimony to how much importance these builders placed on their work. But why specifically these stones? Research indicates that the bluestones possess unique acoustic properties, ringing when banged with a metallic sound, a property that would have been mystical to the Bronze Age world. It is suspected by some researchers that the stones were selected not only because of their holy provenance in the Welsh mountains, but because of the noises they produce in ceremonies, otherworldly, ghostly noises. The arrangement of these bluestones within the inner circle demonstrates planning care and astronomical accuracy, with specific stones placed to correspond with celestial events. Stonehenge's most dramatic transformation occurred around 2500 BCE, during archaeologists' Phase 3 construction. That was the time the monument's giant sarsen stones, giant sandstone pillars up to 50 tons each, were placed into the distinctive pattern that defines Stonehenge today. These stone giants, quarried in the Marlborough Downs a good 20 miles or so to the north, required unusually high organizational skills and engineering acumen to move in place. The constructionists constructed the famous trilithines, 2 uprights topped with horizontal lintels, using sophisticated joinery technology like mortise and tenon joints, the same as skilled master builders. The sarsen stone ring on the exterior consisted of 30 pillar stones in the original structure, each precisely cut and built to create an ideal circle measuring 30 meters in diameter. The mathematical precision of this achievement does suggest the presence of some degree of geometric knowledge, which shows that these old engineers did have knowledge structures far more advanced than in the past. Radiocarbon dating of organic material from holes in the stones does confirm that this beautiful period of building was underway at the height of the bell beaker culture, when the technology of bronze working was transforming European society. Astronomer Gerald Hawkins revolutionized our understanding of Stonehenge in 1965 when, by computer calculation, he studied the astronomical alignments of the monument. Stonehenge is a sophisticated prehistoric observatory Hawkins discovered, with the main stones arranged to record great happenings in the heavens. The most widely publicized alignment is the summer solstice, in which the rising sun is exactly over the heel stone if observed from the center of the monument. But Hawkins established that this was just the tip of the cosmic iceberg for Stonehenge. The monument closely tracks the winter solstice sunset, lunar rising and setting at their extremes, and even predicts an eclipse using what Hawkins referred to as the Aubrey holes, 56 holes, uniformly spaced, in a perfect circle along the perimeter of the monument. The Aubrey holes were named for 17th-century antiquarian John Aubrey and appear to be a system of numeration used for tracking the 56-year cycle of lunar eclipses. The implications are staggering. If Hawkins is correct, Stonehenge is the first human computer, a stone calculator that predicted celestial movements with uncanny precision. This model of the sky assumes that Neolithic men had mathematical and observational abilities to design a monument of infinite scientific refinement. And with every argument for Stonehenge as a prehistoric observatory, there is just as strong evidence on the side of its utilization as a sacred temple and ritual center. The archaeological excavations finds have revealed a dense landscape of ritual usage over more than 1,500 years of uninterrupted occupation. The testimony of several hundred men and women of all walks of life buried there testifies that Stonehenge was a mortuary cult and ancestor cult center. Isotope analysis of the monument's teeth confirms that people traveled from all over Britain and the continent to come here for rituals, establishing that Stonehenge was a pilgrimage place centuries before the terming anything in recorded history. The reality that healing springs have been located and metalworking artifacts have been unearthed within the monument complex means that Stonehenge would have also been considered a place of transformation and regeneration. Acoustic testing of the stone circle shows that the monument was built to vibrate and ring with sound, creating an otherworldly sensory experience during ritual activities. The positioning of the sarsens and bluestones also creates acoustic effects that would have caused chanting, singing, and drumming to resonate in such a way that it would have seemed as though something magical had occurred to previous participants. This sound element is another component of the temple theory, suggesting that Stonehenge was built to create multisensory spiritual experiences that brought participants into states of altered consciousness. In the past 2 decades of archaeology, it has been shown that Stonehenge was not a solitary monument but one of several huge ceremonial landscapes in which was sited the enormous Neolithic settlement of Durrington Walls, just 2 miles north-northeast of the stone circle. The Neolithic village, which was occupied around 2500 BCE, housed thousands of people who gathered together occasionally to construct and maintain Stonehenge during grand feast rituals. Archaeological excavations directed by Mike Parker Pearson and Julian Thomas revealed evidence of colossal pig feasts, in which scores of animals were slaughtered and consumed during midwinter banquets. The date of the feasting, combined with the astronomical alignments of Stonehenge and Durrington Walls, reveal a sophisticated ceremonial calendar that regulated the life of prehistoric society in southern Britain. The determination of the avenue, an avenue way from Stonehenge to the River Avon in prehistoric times, indicates that waterborne transport and ritual processions were an integral aspect of the ceremonial function of the monument. This landscape orientation is one that emphasizes the point that the astronomical and religious explanation of Stonehenge need not be in opposition, but are instead 2 sides of a mature religious system that brought together celestial observation and sacred practice. Fresh technological developments have revolutionized our comprehension of Stonehenge, revealing hidden structures and unexpected stages of construction that confound calendar and temple theories. Ground-penetrating radar surveys conducted by the Stonehenge Riverside Project uncovered an enormous buried landscape of monuments that overlaid timber circles, burial mounds, and ceremonial pits far larger than that of the exposed stone circle. Most surprisingly, 2014 magnetometer surveys found evidence for a colossus stone circle at Durrington Walls close by, perhaps even greater than that of Stonehenge, destroyed and perhaps rebuilt elsewhere in prehistory. These discoveries mean that our ancestors were engaged with long-term rebuilding and building monument projects over centuries, constantly evolving and extending their sacred geography to meet changing religious and celestial requirements. Laser scanning technology has revealed building data not visible to previous generations of archaeologists, including evidence that the sarsen stones were dressed and cut to much higher standards of accuracy than was previously known. Examination of ancient DNA recovered from cremated remains has proven that Stonehenge was visited by individuals from across the British Isles and mainland Europe, supporting theories about its role as a religious nexus to unite dispersed Neolithic groups. Foremost archaeoastronomers like Clive Ruggles assert prehistoric individuals would have seen science and religion as immaterial since they viewed the heavens' actions as a manifestation of divine will rather than as mechanical processes to be calculated. The surprising precision of Stonehenge's alignment suggests that its builders possessed very refined powers of observation, together with profound religious convictions which drove them to represent cycles of planets and stars in unending stone. Its most effective modern interpretation is certain to be one in which Stonehenge was both an astronomical device and a temple of the gods, a calendrical purpose that would serve to add instead of subtract from its religiosity. The ability to predict eclipses and trace season cycles would have given unimaginable religious weight to priests or shaman astronomers who were able to do the same. Current ethnographic studies of the world's indigenous peoples reveal numerous examples of monuments that had both astronomical observation and religious practice and suggest that such dual functions were likely the norm in prehistoric society. The ongoing research project at Stonehenge continues to yield new levels of subtlety that defy simplistic definition, a reminder that our ancestors were significantly more sophisticated than previous archaeologists had imagined. Striding in the shadow of these thousand-year-old rocks as the sun traces its eternal course along the horizon, we are confronted with the sheer fact that Stonehenge is something more and greater than a collection of astrological alignments or spiritual meaning. It reflects humanity's abiding search to know our position in the universe, to make sense of the motion of bodies in the sky, and to construct something enduring that ties us to powers greater than ourselves. Whether architects intended it as a calculator or a cathedral, Stonehenge succeeded in constructing something beyond both of them, a wonder that still awes, questions, and reminds us that the human urge to reach up toward the divine with astronomy and architecture is as old as civilization. The actual genius of Stonehenge is not in reconciling the tension between religious and scientific functions, but in demonstrating that such tensions are even possible. For their Neolithic ancestors, to gaze up at the stars and to venerate the gods was likely the same sanctity wrapped up in one activity, performed in a place where heaven and earth met and where the infinite cycles of time were felt, quantified, and revered. And as the archaeologists keep digging up secrets in the prehistoric landscape, one thing is for sure: Stonehenge will forever disappoint our expectations, expanding our understanding of prehistoric achievement, and reminding us that the greatest structures are those that pose more intriguing questions than any solutions we discover. What do you think? After considering the arguments on each side, what did you personally think about Stonehenge being more of a spiritual temple or an ancient calendar? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your opinions on this ancient enigma. If you enjoyed this tour of prehistoric Britain, be sure to subscribe and tap the bell icon for more explorations of history's greatest mysteries. Next week, we'll examine another archaeological enigma that has stumped scholars for centuries. Until then, keep wondering, keep asking questions, and remember that the biggest breakthroughs are often achieved by looking at old puzzles with new eyes.